Welcome to the briefing room, brought to you by Baya Stars and Stripes, 13 admirals, generals, and members of the Senior Executive Service, led by Dr. Tyrone Taborn, and we bring you the top events going on in the world today. It is a show by Warriors for Warriors. My name is Matt Bowman. I spent 21 years flying jets off aircraft carriers and doing special projects for the government. This show today is going to highlight the best, the people who are at the top of their game, whether it's in food security, special forces, aviation, Army Special Forces, Marine Special Forces, or even CEOs who lead worldwide billion-dollar corporations. I'm here in St. Louis, a wonderful city, had a wonderful meeting with a great company that's leading American technology. But my show today is going to be focused on a farmer. With all the things going on with food and food security, today I've brought you one of America's top farmers to show you how you can own your farm, how you can build a multi-generational legacy built on land. Many people don't know that the largest privately held corporation in the United States is Cargill. And Cargill is a privately held, family-owned business worth billions of dollars, built over 100 years worth of people working together to build a great company. Mr. PJ Hanie, our guest today, is on that same track. He is a fifth generation farmer with farm operations in Virginia and in Arkansas. He is the president and chairman of the National Black Growers Council. He is absolutely a force to be reckoned with. But you and your children and you and your family, no matter from Seattle, Washington to Miami, Florida, from Maine to San Diego, you can do the same thing. So again, welcome to the briefing room. Today's topic, food security. Without food security, there is no security. In this land of abundance where you can buy land for as low as $1,000 an acre, there's no reason for any American to go hungry. There's no reason for us not to promote self-sufficiency, independence, and help neighbors helping neighbors. So we're going to go to a commercial where we highlight 40 years of Baya. And when we come back, I'm going to bring to you farmer PJ Hanie.
It's the moment in your eyes when the future becomes clear.
40 years ago, a vision was born. To break barriers, to celebrate brilliance.
The hopes of what's in reach.
From pioneers to innovators to tomorrow's dreamers, Baya has changed the landscape of STEM forever. Great minds, great people, great futures. Join us for Baya 40. Don't just watch history, be part of it. Baya, becoming everything you are.
Become everything you are.
Welcome back to the briefing room. And live from the farm, my friend, Mr. PJ Hanie. How are you, sir?
I'm well, Matt. How are you today?
Listen, I'm fantastic. I'm so honored that you could join us. I mean, one of the country's top executives, a farmer, a STEM professional. We talk about science, technology, engineering, and math. People don't understand the science that goes into row crop and farm operations. So we're going to jump right into it. I'm going to reel it back. I love it when we talk real, when we're in the truck, we at the farm. So PJ, for those who aren't familiar with you and your family, can you take us back in time? I want to go back in time to where it all started. So tell us the story, PJ.
Thank you, Matt. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. And I'm a fifth generation farmer. My family hails from the coastal plains of Virginia, where we go back to the mid 1800s, where my great-great-grandfather, the late Reverend Robert Hanie, was the first African-American to come out of slavery and purchase land in my home county of Northumberland County, Virginia on September 14th, 1867. By the grace of God, my family still owns that land. We operate on a sizable portion of that original 60 where we're still growing crops today. And the Lord has blessed us to expand from that original 60 to over 9,000 acres now, a combination of leased as well as owned land across 8 counties in 2 states. Uh, the Hanie family farm in Virginia as well as in Arkansas, where we grow primarily winter barley, winter wheat, winter canola, corn, soybeans on our operation in Virginia. And in Arkansas, our main crop is rice. And we're very fortunate to have a processing plant where we can process the rice that we grow. And, under our family brand of Hanie Family Foods, we're trying to capture more value for what we grow, Matt. And I'm proud to be the first in my family, the first generation to grow rice, as I try to transition our family from the feed business into the food business. And
Wow.
in this commodity space, feed is what we produce with our corn and our soybeans that are ground to feed chickens and pigs and animals, versus the wheat that we want to turn into flour, or the rice that we grow that we put in our own bag of rice. So that's what we're trying to do, transition that for the survival of generations to come in this family.
Well, you said a lot, and you captured, over 150 years of history in 3 minutes. But I want to go back to, for our audience. Many of them had farms and then lost it, so it hasn't been an easy journey. So can you talk to the audience about some of the trials and tribulations that you have had to overcome as a family? Because I know from 1865 to 2025, you've had some challenges and had to overcome some obstacles. So give me 3 sea stories. I'm looking for 3 sea stories. I'm a sailor. I love sea stories.
Well, I think I'd like for your audience to understand the history here. And it goes back in the 1920s, there were over 1 million black farmers in the US, and African Americans owned 16 million acres of land.
Wow.
Present day, there are less than 1,000 black row crop farmers in the US, and African Americans own less than 2 million acres of land. Matt, the difference between 16 and 2 is 14 million acres of black owned land that has been lost over the last 100 years. That land didn't erode off the coastal plains of Virginia or
Wow.
California. That land changed hands. And it changed hands really through a process that we all know as discrimination or lending or things like that. And when I was in college, I had a front row seat in the 90s at the whole black farmer class action lawsuit, where the U.S. Department of Agriculture admitted to discriminating in its lending programs to black farmers. And they had a class action lawsuit. And since then, Matt, we've still been dealing with the same challenges of access to capital and growth. So just realize where we've come from. African Americans were brought here as slaves to work these cotton fields, these sugarcane plantations, these rice plantations. And most of us have stayed in the South and migrated. Most of us have stayed in the South to work the land. I'm sorry. My minority of us have stayed in the South to work the land. The majority have migrated north to the cities where they're living in the Chicagos and Detroits and things like that, straight up I-55, right out the Delta to the north, because of jobs and creation and opportunity. And these families could work on a assembly line at General Motors and send money back to mom and dad in the South to hold on to that land. So that's what we see. I farm over 5,000 acres in Arkansas, and I'd say 3,000 of that is black-owned land, and working with families that are still receiving reciprocating income from the land that their ancestors worked so hard to pay for. So, that's my whole key, is being able to educate families on what they need to do with their land. Every acre that you own should be generating you revenue. If it's not cropland, grow a crop of timber. If it's not timberland, grow a crop of hay on it. If it's not hayland, grow a crop of cattle on it. And in the worst case, you can put solar. Every acre should be generating that family money. And we need a system that can continue to supply revenue to generations to come. My father always said
PJ,
land is the closest thing that he can, buying land is the closest thing he can do to planting a money tree, because it'll just keep on giving.
so PJ, you talked about that money tree. You talked about the cash that comes from owning land. When we come back, we're going to go to a commercial. But when we come back, I want to talk to you about some practical steps that people can do to overcome, I think, the number one challenge facing families, not just Black families, but families who have heir property or who have multiple owners. You have successfully navigated how to work with families. So when we come back, we're going to go to a career day commercial where we talk about young people in STEM, but I want to talk about what is the next step for a person to monetize and make that money tree that you talked about from their land.
Calling all future STEM pioneers, leaders, and career champions. Join us on every second Saturday of the month for the BEA Career Day. BEA STEM Career Day is all about creating opportunities for students to venture into the world of STEM through the eyes of professionals. You'll meet mentors and presenters that will give you a sneak peek into the many options available to you in the field of STEM. Hosted by teen ambassadors, you'll find yourself among inspiring peers just like yourself that are aiming high for their future. To take part in the BEA STEM Career Day on Zoom, visit fullstemahead.us and register for the next session. Again, that's fullstemahead.us. BEA, becoming everything you are.
A world of careers unleashed. You can get it at BEA. Become everything you are.
When we left off, we were talking with PJ Hanie, executive and farmer, about how do you turn your land into a money tree, whether it's solar, whether it's planting trees, whether it's being row crop. So PJ, what are some tools? What are some resources for people who are living in Southside Chicago or the DMV, but they have land in the South? Are there organizations or tools or websites that you would recommend that would help them get started?
Yes, I would highly encourage them to seek out the organization called the National Black Growers Council. The National Black Growers Council is a nonprofit organization with a simple mission. That mission is to improve the efficiency, productivity, and sustainability of Black row crop farmers. And that organization can help you identify Black farmers in your area, in your state, in your community that might be in a position to help advise, lease that land, work with you on that. So that's the first resource I would make available. Second one, the National Black Growers Council, our annual conference is convening in a couple of weeks. December 10th through 12th, we'll be in New Orleans. We'll have Black farmers from all over the country convening for a series of workshops and seminars to learn, take information away so they can go back to their farms and communities to help grow. Technology advances and changes very fast in our industry. And the National Black Growers Council is the conduit to make sure Black farmers are aware of those abrupt changes that happen and take place. So I would encourage your listeners to come out to sign up and register for the National Black Growers Council 2025 annual meeting in New Orleans to meet Black farmers from around the country and learn opportunities that they have to participate.
Well, we're about 3 weeks away from that. So do they have to be a farmer? Do they have to own land, or can anybody show up who's interested?
Anybody that can show up and register and attend our conference. No, it's not only for farmers. It's for our community. Even our field days that we host. I had a field day in Arkansas this year with over 300 people, and it was mostly non-farmers to educate and show our community of the latest and greatest advancements in row crop agriculture, from self-driving tractors to drones that are being used for applying herbicides and fungicides on our crops, to precision technology we use on the farm every day. So yes, doesn't have to be a farmer.
And as I travel the country, whether it's in Two Egg, Florida, and Lester Jackson, or it's the Acre Boys in Georgia, there's a real movement in this country to go back to the land. People are working remotely. There is a great opportunity for people to be able to leave, the Southside Chicago's, the cold weather, come back down south, come back home. And so can you give them the website, or how can they just Google National Black Growers Council? How do they find out more information? And then roughly, I assume it's a couple $100 to come to the event. But give us some more details about the December 10th event.
Yeah, feel free to look up nationalblackgrowerscouncil.com on the website, National Black Growers Council on Facebook and social media. This organization is comprised of Black row crop farmers pretty much throughout the Southeast, from Virginia down to Florida, as far west as Texas, and as far north as about Kentucky. Because in all honesty, there aren't any Black row crop farmers in any other parts of the country. I can't name you a Black, row crop farmer in North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana, Wyoming, these places. So where we kind of originated in the South and started growing those crops is where some of those Black farmers still reside and families still own land today. NationalBlackGrowersCouncil.com.
Well, as I peel back to the National Black Growers Council, I'm from the Low Country of South Carolina, Gullah Geechee Nation, and where I'm from, I've never heard of Black or white, but never heard of Black. I have heard of white with 9,000 acres. I mean, it's just like mind blowing to me. For us, if you have 300 acres, we considered you one of the biggest landowners, Black landowners anyway, in Colleton County and Yemassee and Hampton. So is that common to have that type of land? And how do you build that type of land?
It's not common, Matt. And, we're a rare bird, and there are only a couple other farming operations in the U.S. of that size. But it comes from the ability to have the generations there to support. Over the last 25 years, and even going back to my grandfather's time, the equipment has gotten bigger. Machines have gotten more advanced. And due to the automation and GPS, we can run tractors around the clock. So where when Granddaddy could only work from sun up to sundown, we can get on this tractor behind me and run a second shift from sundown to sun back up. And we can double our productivity. So we can get more acres done. The planters are wider. Granddaddy used to have a 10 or 15 foot wide planter. We got 40-foot planters now. We're getting a lot more ground covered. And the thing about it is, in order to pay for these machines, you really got to get across more acres to do it, and that's one of the things. We want to max out the production of these combine harvesters. We've got three big machines down here harvesting rice and soybeans that we grow. And so we grow based on the land available to us, and fortunate to have families that entrust in us with their land to allow us to lease their land to grow crops on it. So that's why we are that size. And, being able to bring the next generation back is something that I hope to do. But if not, have them involved in the management operations of it anyway.
Yeah, PJ, I mean, it is, as I travel the country, there are thousands of acres of land still available. So if you are in an apartment in New York City, if you're in an apartment or a townhome in Chicago or in Waukegan or wherever you're at, if you're in a McMansion somewhere, there is no reason that you cannot start today and in 100 years have a family farm operation that has thousands of acres. There are, I was almost running out of gas in Mississippi. And I said, you know what, there's got to be a gas station. And the thing said 25 miles. PJ, I wasn't even worried about it because I'm so used to Florida, the East Coast, where it's highly populated. Within 25 miles, you'll come into a gas station. I drove 23 miles through Mississippi with no gas station. There is land in Mississippi. There's land in Alabama. If people return back to the land to borrow the late, great Booker T. Washington, if you drop your bucket where you're at, there are still opportunities for people to buy hundreds of acres of land at very reasonable prices. So if you learn nothing from this call, return to the land. The South is going to boom over the next 50 years. So with that, we're going to go to a commercial, and then we're going to talk about what you're doing today. We're at the farm. I want to see some of the equipment. I was out there. So after this commercial, we'll take a look at the land and the equipment that's in Arkansas or Virginia or wherever you're at today.
In today's rapidly changing workforce landscape, finding the right talent isn't just about filling positions. It's about building the future. But with new policies shaping how organizations approach recruitment, companies and institutions need a smarter way to connect with top STEM talent, fairly, effectively, and compliantly. That's where CCG Job Match comes in. For more than 30 years, Career Communications Group has been bridging the gap between education and industry. Job Match is our workforce development program that links employers with thousands of qualified, motivated candidates, students and professionals ready to make an impact. With Job Match, companies gain access to a broad pool of skilled applicants, engineers, technologists, innovators, while ensuring every hiring decision is based on merit. No quotas, no preferences, just opportunity and talent matched with precision. Education partners benefit too, helping their graduates transition seamlessly into the workforce while showcasing the strength of their academic programs to leading employers nationwide. In a world where policies may change, one thing remains constant: the need for great talent. CCG Job Match is where industries, institutions, and innovation meet. Let's build the future together. Contact us at CCG Job Match to start your partnership today.
All right, welcome back to the briefing room. You're here with me, Matt Bowman, and farmer and executive PJ Hanie. You know, PJ, we talked about your family's history. We talked about your love of the land. And before this show is over, we're actually going to see some of the land that you're talking about. But this show is also watched by executives and leaders. And I know you lead a large farm operation. So can you talk about, your top 3 leadership principles? How do you get people to do what they say Americans can't do, which is to work the land?
Well, Matt, we really have to think about where we are today. I don't care where we go in the world, Matt, regardless of our age, race, religion, or political affiliation, food is the one thing that connects us all. There is no culture without agriculture. All of your listeners right now could have woke up this morning. If their TVs didn't come on, they'd be fine. If their cars didn't start, they'd be fine. If their phones didn't work, they'd be all right. But Matt, if they couldn't go in that pantry and get a biscuit or drink a cup of coffee, they would have a problem. So food security is national security, and we're very fortunate we live in one of the most abundant, safe, food secure countries in the world. But I've had the pleasure of traveling around the globe, and there are a lot of places who are not that fortunate. So I don't want us to take that for granted. Young kids are all focused on tech and high, paying jobs, but you can't eat that tech, okay? We got to think about what are the basics, and food is something that's essential regardless of where you go. And that's why, we're excited to be able to launch our family brand of Hanie Family Foods with our rice, the rice that we grow. We're focusing on rice that we're growing on our farms in on our farms in Arkansas, processing at a rice mill where we can supply the rice that we grow to you. So that's coming pretty soon. But it's being able to recognize that that's a commodity. In the produce business, my daddy always told me with produce, if you don't sell it, you smell it. The commodity business, we have a long shelf life. So that rice and that corn and those soybeans, we can put it in those big grain bins. We can blow air on it. We can keep it for up to 12 months and then market it if we desire to. So the commodity business is totally different than produce. And we have to showcase this to young men. Whenever I get a group of young kids that I can bring out to the farm, put them up on this tractor behind me, put them in the air conditioning, listen to the rap music, gospel music, country music, whatever they want to, and then show them something. And I say, hey, whatever you want to do in life, it can be applied to agriculture. If you want to be in marketing, design a marketing campaign for these new tractors, these combines, the food products. You want to be in chemistry, design the next herbicides and fungicides we use on our crops. You want to be in accounting, you want to be in sales. Everything we do is applied to agriculture, food, fiber, and fuel. So that's the exciting part, to be able to make sure we grow the next crop of advocates. Even though we may not grow, these young men and women may not turn into farmers tomorrow, is to show them the value and the importance of the land and what they can do with it and how they can have careers in an industry that they think that they couldn't have a shot at.
Wow. So, for that first leadership principle, I hear the passion that you have I hear the recognition of the opportunity and the way that you share it with young people listening to rap music or country music or gospel music in an air conditioned tractor, whether they're a chemistry major developing fungicides or a marketing major trying to figure out how to sell the tractors. So I heard you loud and clear. What about finding talent? What about, food security doesn't happen. And one of the things we hear every day is, hey, there's not enough people to pick the tomatoes or to do whatever it is. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I don't know about tomatoes in a produce. Did I lose my feed? Okay.
Yeah, but this is why we did this.
Business.
I love it that you're in the field.
I'm trying to hold on.
I got you loud and clear now.
Can you hear me now, Matt?
I can hear you. I can hear you, PJ.
Because we're not anything like that.
Yes, sir.
You can? All right. However, in row crop production, we strongly rely on a lot of H2A labor to come in to drive our tractors. I've got men from South Africa here working on the farm right now, driving tractors and combines and sprayers. However, domestically, we want to make sure that our young kids are aware. And that's why I spend time involved in the Manners organization. I spoke at the National Manners Conference. For those of you listeners that haven't heard of it, MANRRS, MANRRS. It stands for Minorities in Agriculture, Natural Resources, and Related Sciences. And this collegiate organization that started at mostly your HBCU land grants have chapters in which they are the conduit for minorities involved in agricultural and sciences to these big corporations that want to, look for diverse talent in agriculture. So Manners is something that I support and make sure I can advocate with them on the importance of having, men and women that look like me and you involved in agriculture, and to showcase to these students what the possibilities are. Bring them out to the field and see cover crops and on our fields, and see the regenerative agricultural practices, see the computer system that we use to irrigate our fields. There's a lot of technology in this, and we want to make sure our community knows all about that.
Fantastic. And then for coming out to work in agriculture, you've been doing it your whole life. Is there an age limit? If I have a son or daughter who's 8-10 years old, can I bring them out to somebody's farm and get them introduced to agriculture? What are your thoughts? When is the right age to start learning about agriculture?
You start them young. Start them young. My daddy tricked me into farming at 7 years old, would put me on a tractor and told me, don't go out of first gear. That's the fastest I could go. And as the days went on, let me get a little faster as my skill developed. But you start them out early, and I mean, even now, you can probably put a kid on this tractor and monitor from your iPhone or computer how fast they're driving it down the field. So, I wouldn't put a kid on anything new, but just have them to ride, sit in your lap and drive. Hey, there's a buddy seat in the cab. Hey, I'm going to hop over. I'm going to let you drive down the field. When you turn around at the end, hit this button. The tractor's going to drive itself. Show them those features of what agriculture today looks like, and they'll be excited and want to be involved in something. It's no greater joy than being able to watch something grow and harvest a bountiful crop. And, we're very fortunate that we're able to do that. And, being able to showcase these big combine harvesters like that one over there that we're getting ready to clean off and put under the shed, or this other one over here that we're washing off right now, because we've finished harvest for the year. So we're cleaning up the machines to put them away for the year, get everything harvested. So that's what it's all about, Matt. Just trying to take and showcase where present day production agriculture is for the next generation. So bring them young.
Bring them young. In South Carolina, I also started young, and as did everybody in my family. And I did not know that when you're on your own property and when you have your own children, part of the benefit of this great country is you can do what you want with your children on your land. Now, you might not be able to take them to someone else's land, but if you're on your land, you can teach them in that buddy seat how to drive. And those skills, whether it's of driving a tractor and fixing a tractor and learning the engineering and the mechanics, they apply to aviation. Some of the best pilots I know are children of farmers who learn how to work with heavy equipment on a farm. So it's absolutely fantastic. PJ, what as we look at SNAP and other food insecurity issues that face Americans, what can people who live in urban landscapes, what can they do to grow their own food and to promote independence in a sense of multifamily work?
Matt, I'm not an urban guy, so I couldn't tell you what to do with a city block other than get off of it, if you ask me. But there's some people who've mastered that. A friend of mine, Miss Cindy Ayers, she's the largest Black urban farmer in the state of Mississippi. She's mastered that. I grew up out in big rural areas where there's vast amounts of cropland. So that's what I know. I know how to take a 300, 400, 500 acre farm and turn it into production and things like that. However, I think we all need to realize that we need to go back to our roots and see, can we grow something? Take the time, take your kids off of the Nintendo or Roadblocks video game and put them out with some seeds in their hand and have them watch something grow and have them nourish it. And if they don't water it, it'll die. And them to understand the circle of life as far as what it takes to be responsible to something. And I think that's where we all can go. And if you don't have large acres of land, I'm looking at about 3,000 acres of land around me right now. Not everyone has that much land, but where they are, they can start with a small garden in the backyard. And then when they get the chance to take that kid out to a larger, more rural area, they can recognize the fact of what it starts off as something small and what it can grow into. Have a conversation about the food on their dinner tables and where it came from and who produced it and how was it produced and sustainably grown, and all those things is what we need to focus our children on because we're too far removed from it.
I love it. PJ, the first time I actually saw 3,000 acres, I was a 45-year-old man. I'd never been on a person's farm that had 3,000 acres. Can you do like a panoramic and just kind of show where the tree line sits when you have, if you can even see a tree line, how when you have 3,000 acres, there is literally no tree line in sight. It is the land that I'm working, the land that I'm a steward is as far as the eye can see.
Well, I'll try to do that for you, Matt. It takes me about 3,000 to get around this curve and open all up. To get to my shop, we got to go about 3.5 miles up a gravel road. But let me just stand on the back of my pickup truck and show you a panorama of what we're looking at. These are some of the fields that we planted our cover crop on using regenerative ag practices. This is some of our cover crop that's grown.
That's beautiful. That is absolutely a beautiful sight. Can you imagine taking your children hand in hand and walking across your land? I want to encourage everyone who's listening, buy dirt now. We just have a beautiful country. It's just the most beautiful country on earth. And that view right there is fantastic.
Matt, you see how straight those rows are?
I do.
I put them up in the dark. The tractor was driving itself down the field. I couldn't drive that straight. I could when I was younger, but I don't know about now. But the tractor does that. That's precision guidance on a tractor putting up beds. We use a raised bed type of planting style down here in the Delta, and we'll come back and plant soybeans right on top of that cover crop in the spring. That rye and wheat is holding that soil together and is kicking up any nutrients that the crop didn't use during the growing year. So those are some of the regenerative agricultural practices that we're using in row crop production.
PJ, you mentioned the Delta, and when we hear the Delta, we think of blues and really the heart of American culture. So can you tell us a little bit about the Delta? I mean, when I picked up that Delta soil, I couldn't believe how rich it was. It was mind blowing. So tell us a little bit about the Delta.
Well, I didn't learn as much as I should have early on, but until I started farming down here, I had a greater appreciation. If you just go in on Google Earth and you start looking at Memphis, Tennessee, and you start zooming out and going south,
from Memphis down to Clarksdale, Mississippi, going west over to Pine Bluff, Arkansas, going back north to Little Rock, Arkansas, you have a vast flat plateau. You know, the Great Flood took place in 1927, and that was before the U.S. Army Corps engineers put in these levees to protect these towns from getting flooded. And it was a 100-year flood, and it flooded out multiple towns. There was water standing. West Mississippi was pretty much hill country, pine trees and rattlesnakes. But the flood of 1927 was the biggest chunk of erosion we've ever seen, and it ate the hills of West Mississippi flat. And that's where the Mississippi Delta is, where you're growing your rice and your corn and your soybeans. Well, the Arkansas Delta, just on the west side of the Mississippi River, is even larger than the Mississippi Delta. It spans 90 miles from Helena, Arkansas, all the way to Pine Bluff, Arkansas, about 100 miles, really. As far north up as Jonesboro, Arkansas, as far down as Dumas, and then even the northeast corner of Louisiana is Delta country, part of that floodplain. So all of that created back in the 20s really started where we are. And this is where you find your irrigated crops. Large flat fields, precision level, holding water, furrow irrigation. I didn't really understand that. We don't use these practices in Virginia that we do down here in the Delta.
Wow. So this is a show by warriors for warriors, and you're in that food war, you're in that food security space. So does America have enough land to feed itself and also to feed the world? Talk to us about that. Are there constraints? How do we use land more effectively?
I mean, we're the most abundant supply of food in the world because of our research and R&D and extension service through universities, the seed companies we buy. We're producing seeds that are yielding higher, that are handling the weather disparities that we're having. We go from extremely wet and cold to extremely hot and dry. That volatility is where we need genetics and research and breeding on to give us crops that won't succumb to these hot dog days of summer here. And we're very fortunate that we can produce good crops. Arkansas is the number one rice producing state in the whole U.S. Over 1 million acres of rice are grown here in Arkansas every year, and rice is only grown in 6 states, and it doesn't make sense why this rice can't be in the bellies of children who are hungry in Africa and other parts of the world right now. We have an abundance of water. We have good soil. We have good suppliers for fertilizer and seed and chemistry. And other places around the world don't have that. We have the infrastructure for barging fertilizer down the Mississippi River, moving grain down the Mississippi River, getting the inputs to the farmers and getting the crop away from the farms after we harvest it. Those are all essential. And because of that development we have in the U.S., we are an abundance supplier of food for the world.
Wow. So, for those who are in corporate spaces, we talked about passion. We now have talked about excellence. We've talked about purpose. There's a piece that we alluded to that's embedded in this conversation, and that is multi-generational operations. That is the American dream, that our children will pursue something productive. Can you share with the audience the role that farming plays in getting your children and even your grandchildren in the same space? They may not do the same thing, but in the same space that you do. So multi-generational operations.
Well, for me, Matt, my dad, I was his walking shadow from the time I was about 5 years old. Everywhere he went, every time I go to the John Deere store, I want a toy, or I want to pick up one of the new magazines to see the pictures of the new tractors that came out. And on this one particular day, I asked for a toy. He said, "No, you're getting too big for a toy. I'm going to get you the real thing." And we walked out, and Dad bought a used tractor that day, and brought it to the field and put me on it. And that was my tractor. And at 7 years old, I didn't want to go play sports. I didn't want to go hang out. After school, all I wanted to do was go get on my tractor, because I had air-conditioned radio in a tractor, and I was out in the fields working with the big boys. And on Fridays, whenever I got out of school, Dad would have one of his farm hands pick me up from school, and whatever field that they were working on, whatever farm, they would move my tractor So when I got there, if he had 3 tractors plowing or 4 tractors plowing, I'd be the fourth or the fifth. I'd get in line right behind his crew working. If they were planting, I would be planting. I was doing the same thing at a young age that these grown men were doing. And I thought, hey, I'm a big boy too. So that just allowed me the effort, the desire to want to do something and planting and watching. And so I think if we could really expose our children to these opportunities, give them the independence and the freedom of driving out across 100-acre field on the four-wheeler, getting the sun in the face and the wind in the jaws. I think that's something that any young kid would really enjoy, that opportunity of independence and working and being a part of Mother Nature.
You know, independence in Mother Nature. You hit it right on the head. We're going to go to another Bayer commercial where you can learn about an ecosystem, 50,000 plus professionals who are in STEM, who are in agriculture. So the Bayer Conference is February 13th through the 15th. This commercial tells you about it. We're 40 years in. Learn more about this commercial.
It's the moment in your eyes when the future becomes clear.
40 years ago, a vision was born. To break barriers, to celebrate brilliance.
The hopes of what's in reach.
From pioneers to innovators to tomorrow's dreamers, Bayer has changed the landscape of STEM forever. Great minds, great people, great futures. Join us for Bayer 40. Don't just watch history, be part of it. Bayer, becoming everything you are.
Become everything you are.
All right, this is Matt Bowman in the briefing room talking about food security and food insecurity with one of the world's top farmers, Mr. PJ Hanie. PJ, listen, we are wrapping up this show. It's been a fantastic show. I want to leave it to you to either show the audience or tell the audience for the next 5 minutes something that you think they should know.
Matt, I appreciate it. And I'm very fortunate to just do what I love doing, which is farming. And I'm fortunate to be in an industry that we can help, solve the one thing that too many people have is just food security. Too many people go to bed hungry every night for the abundance of food that we grow. And the Delta Halls offers a lot of opportunity to help, especially with our vast amount of water. I've been reading about studies, where people are researching, can the Delta be the next California that grows so many different crops? And because of all the water shortages and legislature and policy and challenges that they have there, can they do this? So, I just want your listeners to understand and appreciate what it takes for the food to be on their dinner plates and what the faces look like for the hands that grow the food to put that food on their dinner tables, and there are only few Black farmers in this country in the row crop space. And we need to grow the next crop. As farmers, we all recognize and understand if we plant seeds, we got a crop to harvest in the future. And it's no different from planting seeds of young Black men and women in agriculture. If we don't have young kids that can take the reins over and understand what it is, we're going to be completely disseminated, and we are, as Black row crop farmers, we are an endangered species. And it's a shame how the federal government in the 1960s recognized that bald eagles were endangered species. And they started spending millions of dollars a year and putting laws in place where if you harmed a bald eagle, you go to jail. Or they got bald eagle refuges and everything. And because of that investment, unfortunately, Matt, now there are more bald eagles in the lower 48 states than there are Black row crop farmers. So if we had that same type of investment or incentive for our protection, we could grow. The Black farmer herd is small. The Black row crop farmer herd is small. Protect the herd can grow. Give that herd the right resources for capital to grow those crops. The land don't know any color. You plant it on time, you fertilize it on time, you take care of the land, it'll take care of you. Then give farmers the government programs for irrigation and precision leveling to improve the crops that they grow on those farms. Then give them the money for value add for processing the crops that they grow on those farms so they can go directly to consumers that are listening to this show and take it from our farms to your dinner tables. That's what we need to create a sustainable, sexy environment for the next generation. Like I said, I've got kids, and the math don't math to come to go to school, get an education, come home and buy an $800,000 combine to sell $4 corn. You know, I got to get them a way where they can turn that corn into corn grits, high fructose corn syrup, corn ethanol. They've got to capture more value. Instead of selling wheat like granddaddy and daddy did, I'm trying to get them to put our family brand of flour in this bag. Okay. Hanie Family Foods is trying to capture more value for what we grow so we can then sustain something for the next generation. Because the answer for insanity is doing the same thing over, expecting different results. And that's where we're trying to transition from the feed business to the food business. HanieFamilyFoods.com.
PJ, listen, I love it. HanieFamilyFoods.com. Remember to go to the National Black Growers Council Conference in New Orleans, December 10th. Remember to come to Baya, February 13th through the 16th. These are opportunities in the next 90 days for you to change your family's life. PJ, I want to thank you. I know you got to get back on that farm and get back to work. Thank you, sir. Please give my regards to the family. I'm going to come out there in the field and jump on a tractor and help you work. And so save one of those tractors for me.
Will do, Matt. You got an open invite anytime, brother. Hope to see you in New Orleans in December.
I'll see you in New Orleans. All right. So now that was our guest. I'm just so honored to have PJ Hanie on. We'll have clips. We'll put them on social media. Please follow him and his family on their journey on social media. Again, one of the world's top farmers. As we go and close out the show today, we do want to go around the world in 6 minutes. So much is going on. The Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program did receive funding. The government is temporarily back in business, but we are not out of the woods yet. If you're facing food insecurity, which all of us are, I encourage you to go to the National Black Growers Council Conference. I don't care what race, gender you are, show up in New Orleans, learn how you and your family can become row crop farmers, learn how you and your family can get into agriculture. Baya, February 13th through 16th in Baltimore, Maryland. Come to Baya. It is an ecosystem of over 50,000 professionals. This is the 40th year. This is the 40th year. So register, come to it. If your company is not a part of the Baya ecosystem, now is the time to join. There's an expression that you only can tell if you're courageous when it's time for you to do courageous things. So PJ Hanie is doing courageous things. Tyrone Taborn is doing courageous things. There will come a time when there is not an opportunity to show your courage. And so as we close out this show on food insecurity, and as we talk about a show for warriors by warriors, you cannot be a warrior if you're not courageous. And with that, we're going to wrap up today's show. There's lots going on in South America, in Venezuela, in Colombia, in Argentina with the currency swap of the $40 billion, with the $12 billion beef deal in Argentina. Lots going on in Africa, lots going on in Guyana. The Middle East has seemed like it's cooled down, but you still got hot spots with Ukraine and Russia. We'll see if the Gaza Israel peace talks hold. We'll see if China continues to rise as a peer adversary. The time of them being a near peer is over. They are hands down our peer adversary. And so that is the world we live in. With that, I'm going to close out the show. The Briefing Room, a show by warriors for warriors.
What if you could build your own city? A place where every child can find nurturing people to help them achieve their full potential. A place where every adult can access job training support. Where health education is abundant. Where social justice ruled the land. A place without limitations. Welcome. You have arrived at STEM City, USA. It is what every city should be. A safe and trusted community where you find people and resources to help you become everything you are and beyond. STEM City is unlike anything you have ever experienced. It is a digital twin of the world around you, only better. STEM City is about energy and soul renewal. It is more than a digital world. You can almost feel the power of live cultural events, music, and theater. STEM City promises a better future for children with caring mentors and hands-on activities with dedicated tutors to support our youth. STEM City is your passport to a healthy lifestyle with weekly events addressing our community's many issues. STEM City is your financial well-being with helpful information on wealth management, career advancement, job training, and so much more. STEM City is the community you deserve. It is the city where your dreams can come true. STEM City USA, a place in the sky that is accessible to all who reach for the stars.